Southward Korea has shown it withdrawn a post-Kong registered vessel recent monthly suspected of supply oil to the polar in violation of world sanctions regime. Officials told the Beacon Winmore had covertly passed 600 tons of exquisite oil to a polar Korean vessel. A UN Safety Justice Solution bans vessel-to-vessel transfers of any consumer goods intended for Pyongyang. The revelations came as China rejected claims by CEO Donald Trump it had permitted oil shipments to the polar. But instead of departure to Taiwan, it passed the oil to a polar Korean vessel and three somewhere in world water on October 19, Southward Korean officials were cited as proverb. The Beacon Winmore was withdrawn while it refundable to Yeosu in November and remnant in Southward Korea, Southward Korean officials told. Down there is no testimony as, though the Beacon Winmore is post-Kong flagged, it was rented by a Taiwan business. The China by the government told the accusations versus it were no consecutive in the facts. China has never permitted China enterprises nor individuals to infringe UN Safety Justice resolutions superimposed on the DPRK, Overseas Ministry Representative Hua Chunying told. China handrail on 90% of the polar's overseas trading. Down there has been growing suspect in Washington how China sea vessels include been covertly transmitting oil to polar Korean where at ocean. On Thursday, Mr. Trump tweeted he was really frustrated in China, that he told had been trapped scarlet-handed. Trapped red presented, really frustrated how China is enabling oil to go in polar Korea. Down there will never be a amiable decision to the polar Korea issue if the continues to occur. Quotation Southward Korean by the government officials, the paper told the illicit vessel-to-vessel transfers had been shot by U.S. spy satellites on 30 times with October. He told, petroleum is departure in polar Korea. How wasn't my transactions? If they don't assist us in polar Korea, later I do which I've ever told I wish to make. The sanctions regime need nations to check and confiscate any vessel suspected of illicit transfers to the polar. On Thursday, the UN Safety Justice as well rejected world seaport accessing to 4 persons more than polar Korean sea vessels suspected of transport prohibited consumer goods, AFP informed. It would give the full quantity of sea vessels locked by the UN to 8. Polar Korea is already object to a lot of sanctions regime of the US, the UN and the EU. The newest circle was sparked by the November 29 start of a ballistics rocket that flew high rather than any sum the polar has proven. Mr. Trump has previous endangered to completely kill polar Korea if it launches a nuke assault. Polar Korean lead Kim Jong-un has outlined the US CEO as mental insane. They include been superimposed for more than rather than a 10 years in slight successful. In reality, polar Korea has told crisp sanctions regime will just do its speed its nuke program. It has extended to testing nuke and ballistics rocket technology in spite these latter examples of UN blood pressure.